especially really just in the past maybe 8 months. I was at a seminar and I was working with this guy. I was trying to set him up in the start position that I wanted, move angles. I was giving him every cue that I had, every trick in the book I was throwing at him, and he would go to every single position except for the one that I wanted, right? And so I stepped back, I was like, what's going on today? I'm a terrible coach, and I need to find another job, So I was having a rough day. And so I stepped back and thought about it for a second. I was like, you know what, man? Let me see your deadlift start position. If I told you to do a max deadlift and just forget about the snatch and the clean, what would that look like? And so, of course, he walked up and you know how they reverse grip. So he did that, and I was like, fine. He's trying to find his position. So he did a reverse grip, and as soon as he locked in, I was like, ding, ding, ding. That's it. That's exactly what I want. And so the reason why he wouldn't go there is because so many people think that the deadlift and the clean can't possibly be the same. I think that they can and they should be the same because we're looking for the same thing. We're looking for I'm looking for the strongest start position, the strongest picking that bar up from the floor. The body we're using the best possible combination of the body. Does that make sense? And so the problem with doing that 3.5 years ago when I first came into CrossFit, and I'm just using this as an example, is that the powerlifting coaching wasn't really there yet, just like the Olympic lifting coaching, as a whole hadn't spread enough. And also people hadn't been doing heavy deadlifts long enough. And so now we skip to almost, 2.5 years later, where we have a combination of better powerlifting coaching and also people just doing heavy deadlifts more, a background of doing that. And the thing is that without you guys even learning technique, and especially in something like the deadlift, if you just do it, your body is going to eventually find a better way, find its strongest position. Does that make sense, right? And so that's kind of what happened, a combination of the coaching and just the background of lifting heavy. And so people had either been taught or their body had found a better way. And so I figured out at that point that I could encompass finding most people's clean start position by just saying, hey, let me see your deadlift start position. And so what I would do is I would go around and say, hey, is your deadlift and your clean start position the same? Most people would say no. And so I would say, let me see your deadlift start position. And usually it would be, okay, that's what I want you to use for your clean start position. If it wasn't, then I would say, you know what, I think your deadlift can be stronger. Does that make sense? Right? And so I would help them find that position, and then we would take that feel, and it has a unique feel because your body is activated a little bit differently, and usually people feel a little bit more tension on the hamstrings. And so we would take that feel and try to recreate that with a snatch grip and use that for a snatch grip, right? So, and that actually goes right in line more with what CrossFit wants anyway, because they want to move low weight, high rep, light weights for higher reps. And when you're doing that and you're trying to run them together, think about this. You don't want the bar to displace up and down. You just want it to move in a straight line, right? You don't want to have to displace over and over and over again, right? Does that make sense? So, a deadlift start position. That was reconfirmed to me when I was at a seminar at night, and I was chilling out, flipping through the channels, and Strongman was on. You guys watch Strongman? No? You should watch Strongman. If you like weightlifting, I love Strongman. But I just so happened to flip it over when they were doing a deadlift, and it wasn't a barbell and weights. It was something weird. I don't even remember what it was. But they were at about the height that the barbell would be with weights on from the floor. And there was this guy repping it out. He was looking really solid and really good. And one of the commentators said that, man, that guy's using perfect deadlift technique. And I was like, yes, he is. That's exactly where I would set him in the start position of a clean. And if you guys need a reference of this, but anyway, that just kind of confirmed to me that, that the powerlifting community, the strongman community, sees that as a strong, activated position, But if you guys need a reference for this, and this is becoming kind of maybe a little bit more old school because I think so many people are going to this. Look at the Russians, pull up some Russian lifters, and most of those guys are just straightforward. Yeah. They're just deadlift start position, and they're just moving that bar straight. Let me skip down to this is technique the enemy, and the reason why I say that is because when I see somebody in this start position and moving from that start position. Like when I watch the Russians lift, I don't really see any technique. And don't get me wrong, there's technique there, but I don't see any tricks. I just see the bar, the body moving smoothly and the bar moving straight. So I don't see technique. I just see a snatch or a clean. With this technique, with a sweep and a scoop and a lean, and I'll talk about that more here in a minute, I see a lot of excess movement, a lot of trickery. To me, a lot of unnecessary stuff going on. And maybe not unnecessary, but it's just, I see technique there. Does that make sense? Let's go back to the head position. Back to the head position. We talked about that a little bit already. I want you to pick out that point, and in the snatch and the clean, I want you to leave it there through the whole lift, and that just helps you create that that awareness. You don't lose your line of sight, and even though I want your extension to be wild and crazy, I do, because that's how you're going to put the most power into the barbell. I want that head to be to stay there. Unless there's, like I said, unless there's something in your positions or your movement that I see, we can play tricks with your eyes and help you hold your best positions and help your body stay as activated as it can. Right? Does that make sense?
So basically, a neutral head position, unless we're specifically trying to counteract something.
Yes, but even at that, I want your head to be straight, but we may manipulate where your eyes are. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? So I don't necessarily want your head to follow that, you know. And the reason why I stay away from the word neutral is because in the powerlifting community and in CrossFit, there's teachings of everything overlapping, and so powerlifting and Olympic lifting technically are overlapping, which I don't think is a great thing. But when they say neutral head, they mean spine in neutral position. So when they do a lot of them, when they do a deadlift, they will be looking down like this.
Right.
So that I'm starting to see more people doing that in my seminars. I'm like, no, get your head up. And so that's another thing I had to branch off and really study. And so I studied a lot of powerlifting stuff to figure out what they're doing and why and all that stuff. And what I found was that only about half of them believe in that, you know, or half of them use that technique. And we don't even have to get into why or anything. But the point is that for weightlifting, I've only ever seen one elite lifter do that, and I'm not really sure why she did it. And it may have been maybe she had some sort of injury in her back or her neck or something that she kept into it. But for weightlifting, we need that awareness, and it's something that is going to help you maintain your positions and keep your body activated. Another thing for weightlifting is that if your head is down like that, your body is going to be very likely. I always like to think in terms of what is your body likely going to do in certain positions of movement. Your body is going to be very likely to follow your head forward or to follow your head down by lifting the butt faster than the shoulders. Does that make sense? Like we don't want that. Okay? So we're going to keep our head up, right? And we can play with the position of your eyes. Dynamic versus static. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because there are some people out there doing seminars and information out there that are going to teach you to use a dynamic start position. A dynamic start position. You know what a dynamic start is?
Is it when you have your go up a little and then down?
Yeah, it just means you're moving in and right out of your start position, and it's really a good way. Like a lot of lifters get a lot out of it because it's a good way to stimulate the body. So I'm not saying that it is at all wrong. Just like this isn't at all wrong. The problem with beginners doing that is that if you're not consistent in a static start position, then why are you going to dynamic in and out of it?
Yeah.
Right? And also, if you take the time to be static first, you're going to develop more strength out of that position. So I always tell people, give yourself a long period of time of static, and that means that you will find your start position and you'll hold it for a good couple seconds, and then you'll lift it from the floor. One thing about the dynamic start position, even for a lot of elite lifters that use it, so they'll come down and you remember the too low start position that I said?
Yeah.
They'll get in that start position, or that position, and then they'll come up. And as they come up, they'll reach a position to where they'll then lift it from the floor. And so they feel like that stimulates them more. The problem with that is, especially with their heaviest weights, what you see a lot of times is that, so say this is the point to where the bar breaks from the floor. As that bar is coming up, they have that momentum of their body, so the butt just kind of keeps going up a little bit, and then it stops. And now when that happens, you should know from earlier that that creates space, and they have to make up for that space. And so that's the people that do this, and once they lift it off the floor, their butt kind of goes beyond that. You will see more of a bang with their extension. Does that make sense? Because they've created that space, and so now they have to muscle the bar back in and/or bring the body to the bar. Okay. So that's kind of the danger in that. Even with some lifters that are lifting a lot of weight, we want to hold that off as much as possible. So we're going to work on static. We're gonna work on static. So the thing about different techniques, and I'm comparing techniques. The thing about different techniques, again, I don't believe that they're wrong. And actually, I like to use a push press, for example, because shoulder to overhead, and it's kind of a big topic in the CrossFit community, and so that's why I always use it when I'm talking to them. If you're getting the bar from the shoulders to over your head, you're accomplishing the movement. You're doing the movement, but maybe there's a better way, or maybe there's what way I like to put it. Maybe there's a better position, or a position of more potential. Maybe there's a movement of more potential, and that's what I like to look for. Okay, so I'm not saying that these different techniques are wrong, and so just keep that in mind. To go along with this technique right here, and some of the other words that you'll hear, I've talked about sweeping. So a little bit more about sweeping. Sometimes that's a good cue, or a good exaggeration, even from this or this deadlift start position, because and that's kind of goes along with this too, is that it's hard enough to get the bar to move straight from a deadlift start position, and so sometimes we have to exaggerate, and you have to kind of feel a sweep in there, and that sweep alone will allow you to move the bar straight, right? And just to kind of back up the danger in putting somebody in this start position, especially in the beginning, if that bar is out away from their body, or if it's forward, what do you think is going to most likely happen in the beginning? It's just going to stay there. It's just going to stay forward and away from the body. So it's going to be hard for them to do that.